For the thousands who are learning the Dvar Malchus, it's worthwhile to stop to reflect a moment on what is the goal and the desired outcome of this learning. When the Rebbe spoke about learning Yana, Mashiach, and Geula, he described two general ideas. One is that it's a segula that has a special quality to reveal Mashiach in actuality in this world when one learns what it says in Torah about Mashiach and Geula. And secondly, the Rebbe said in Parshas Balak, Tavshin Nun Aleph, that when one learns in Yana, Mashiach, and Geula and Torah, one's mind and heart become filled with concepts of Mashiach and Geula, and one begins to live one's life in actuality in thought, speech, and deed in a way which is befitting this time when we're standing right on the threshold of the redemption. The Rebbe then gave us the Dvar Malchus to learn, where the Rebbe painstakingly analyzes the Rambam's description of Mashiach and shows how every aspect of his description revolves around what is the essence of Mashiach's role here in this world. And our belief in Mashiach and our yearning for Mashiach is centered around the idea of what the essence of Mashiach is, and that is bringing the world to a state of complete fulfillment, shleimus Torah and mitzvahs. And therefore our yearning, the Rebbe says, is relevant halachically. Our belief in and yearning for Mashiach is for a state where there is shleimus Torah and mitzvahs. The question is, how does this knowledge increase our yearning for Mashiach, and how does it transform the way we act? Then when we think about our yearning for Mashiach, of all the suffering that there is in the world, Daloi Golas, Ad Masai, how can we tolerate the present condition of the world? One feels a deep desire for Mashiach, and we can say Ad Masai with an emes that we truly, truly want Mashiach. That would seem to have the greatest effect on transforming us. Why is it this knowledge that Mashiach's essence is shleimus Torah mitzvahs, that was what is so necessary for us to make this transformation? The Rebbe explains in a Sikha in Chelach Beis about this Rambam, and referring to the Dvar Malchus, the Rebbe says that although we fulfill Torah mitzvahs because it's the will and desire of Hashem, and one has to do with Kabbalah soul, however, one must at the same time be aware of the effect that our Torah mitzvahs is having upon the world. That this is actually bringing the Geul and B'Peil, and that this should be felt when we do our Torah mitzvahs. The example is brought of a soldier who is working for the army of the king and is a faithful soldier to his nation, but he's told that he has no possibility of ever winning this war. You have to fight because you're a soldier, but you're not winning the war anyway. So although he'll go about his actions because he's a faithful soldier, nevertheless, he's not going to do it with the same enthusiasm as if he realizes how his effort is crucial to the fulfillment of the goal, in that case, winning the war. And so too, our Torah mitzvahs are not a separate thing that we do Hashem's will, and then there's a reward at the end, which is the coming of Mashiach. The Torah mitzvahs itself is the idea of Mashiach. And this is what's making the transformation of the world. As the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, Schar mitzvah mitzvah, that through the mitzvah we make the transformation of the world. Can perhaps bring an example. Once heard a mashal of a king who had a mountain in the middle of the kingdom and he wanted to get rid of. He didn't know such a big mountain, how to get rid of it. So he told the people there's a treasure hidden at the bottom of the mountain. And whoever finds it gets to keep it. So everybody came with their shovels and they started digging and clearing out all the earth, eventually leveling this mountain. When it was all done, nobody found the treasure. And the king said, okay, you did such a good job, I'll pay you. So what was the relationship between their digging and the treasure? They all got paid in the end, but there was no direct correlation between the act that they were doing and what they earned at the end. It's like the idea of a reward. Looking at Mesa Mashiach has a schar. As some of the commentaries ask, why is it counted as a separate count among the 13 principles of Jewish faith? Because reward and punishment is already one of them. Why is Mashiach counted separately? But it's separate because it's not just a reward. The Torah mitzvahs results in Mashiach not just as a reward which is unconnected. It would be as if the people that are digging and then they get the reward. So there's a direct connection between what they're doing, the digging, and the treasure that they are bringing home and that they're earning as a result. But the truth is, it's even deeper than that, because then the action is one thing and the treasure is another thing. And although the treasure is a direct result of the action, you don't feel when you're doing the action that something actually is being accomplished. Even the idea that we know from the Rambam, that the Rebbe always said we should constantly stress what the Rambam says in Hilchos Tshuva, that one should look at the world as being an equal balance between positive and negative. And even one action or one word or even one thought could be capable of tilting the scales and bringing the Geula, take it from Miyad, the immediate coming of Mashiach. But even then, it just happens to be that this one act happened to be the one to tip the scales. But it's deeper than that. When one does a mitzvah, one is actually bringing Mashiach. We don't see it, but the transformation of the world actually takes place in reality. It's as if the king knew that the people in the village needed to exercise. But if he told them to exercise, let's say somebody had chas v'sholom a blood clot, and the only way to get rid of it was through exercising. So he tells them all to dig. And as a result of digging, they're healing themselves. So the actual activity itself of digging is itself the reward. And so too over here, the idea of Torah mitzvahs and Shleimus Torah mitzvahs is not just something which is a reward, something which is a result. It completely changes our attitude towards Torah mitzvahs right now in the time of Golus. So when one looks, for example, there's a diuk and a mitzvah, you wash natilas yadayim. So that this part of the hand get covered, whatever mitzvah happens to be, it's the type of muktzah, another type of muktzah. What does this have to do with Mashiach? Adarabba v'adarabba. This is the way you bring the Gilui Mashiach and the Hiddur mitzvah. When the Rebbe mentions explicitly the idea of Hiddur mitzvah, that doing the minimum of the mitzvahs asay, mitzvahs leis asay, and Hiddur and all of these mitzvahs, this itself is bringing the Gula mitzvah shlema. And that's why it's so important to know that this is the essence of what Mashiach is about. And this totally transforms our attitude towards Torah mitzvahs. And at the end, after we learn the Rabbim inside, we'll speak about some practical implications of this.